Do you feel like you need God's encouragement and wisdom throughout the week to take hold of His promise to fly like an eagle? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Eagles on the Hill. Let's join our host, Pastor Jeff Scheich.
Hey people, I am your host, Pastor Jeff Scheich. So thanks for joining us on this edition of the podcast. I want to encourage you to share this with friends, people that you know that are interested, particularly in this particular podcast, which is about school choice in Nebraska. And we had a podcast about this back in September, at the end of September, September 29th, 2023. And that podcast was called School Choice in Nebraska. You can find that, and I would encourage you, if you have not listened to that yet, to go to our YouTube channel, Eagles on the Hill, and listen to that episode, because this is kind of a part 2 to that, a follow-up on that. You can also find it at the Eagles on the Hill YouTube channel on our playlist. If you look at the playlist, there's a school choice playlist, and it is there, along with this particular one that you're listening to right now. So back in September, we had Mark LaRue, who is the executive director of Christ Lincoln Schools, on, because he is kind of the person I know of who's informed the most about these things. And so we want to bring Mark on again. So Mark, thanks for joining us on today's edition of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
All right, so let's get into this here. What are we talking about here? School choice. We got a program in Nebraska, Opportunity Scholarships, I think it's called. Who's it for? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so last fall, the state of Nebraska, in their initial efforts, they've been working on this for a while, but in their initial vote, they approved school choice for Nebraska. Now, unfortunately, I do believe we are the 50th state in the union to be able to put some type of school choice legislation for our people, but it is what it is. So the scholarship program, Opportunity Scholarship, really enables students of lower income families to be able to attend a school of their choice, or oftentimes I like to call school choice parent choice, giving parents the opportunity to send their children to the school that they feel best fits their educational needs. So it's not only students maybe coming from public schools, it could be those students that are experiencing bullying, military families. We know that military families are transitioning all the time. It allows them to be able to find a school of their choice that fits their child's needs. Students in foster care, and those that may have been denied enrollment within our public schools. But it gives kind of an equal playing field to families that, you know what, income is not something that families are able to budget for or can provide for their kiddos. This program allows that barrier to go away.
Great. So now, and we're going to get into this in future podcasts. I know that there is an effort out there to repeal this legislation, to get rid of the Opportunity Scholarships, to get rid of the school choice in Nebraska. That way we'll have 49 other states with school choice, and Nebraska will be the one again without it. So we're going to deal with that, because that's going to happen in November, I think, is where that's going to finally show up. So we'll deal with that on a future podcast, but let's just give a brief overview of that, and then we'll move on to how our listeners can participate in these Opportunity Scholarships if they want to. But first, what's the status of the effort to repeal this legislation?
Yep. So in the fall, it was challenged by basically public school union groups that saying, hey, it's not ethical to have a school choice program within our state. 61,000 signatures, verified signatures, needed to be collected. So families across the state attending public events would have been asked to sign the petition. I went to a concert out at Pinewood Bowl here in Lincoln, and there were people that were asking for signatures. 61,000 are needed. That represent 38 of our counties here in Nebraska. The petitioners claim that over 117,000 signatures were received. So through all of these ballots, they had to basically go in and affirm that there's no double signatures. They're representing the counties in which they reside in. the criteria upon that. They realized that there weren't 117,000 signatures, but there were still over 61,000 needed to put it back on the ballot in the fall. So it will come to vote again for Nebraska residents in the fall of 2024. So we'll want to, again, to your point, we'll emphasize this again in the fall and give some action items for people who are concerned about losing school choice. But currently is a law.
Sure. And so that means we can act on it. It is currently a law. And even if we act on it now, and if it were to get repealed, which I certainly hope it does not, but if it does, the actions we take now, the money we give toward it now, we'd still get the same tax benefits. So that's good news. I love how these things are named. Support Our Schools initiative was the initiative to put this back on the ballot to get rid of school choice, support our schools. So that, I don't know, that's kind of a misnomer. But anyway, we'll talk about exactly what the effects of this legislation are and all that in a future time. But I really wanted to do this podcast right now because I'm one of, well, all Nebraskans who pay taxes. We're getting ready. We're starting 2024 to pay taxes this year into the state state treasury. And so we want to know about how we can make the best use of those dollars that we're paying in taxes to be able to support these opportunity scholarships. So that's kind of why I wanted to get at this now. So let's talk about how people can donate to this now, if we would. How does this work?
Yeah. So just a point of clarification, and you hit on it. So this is for the 2024 tax year. So as people pay taxes, April 15th is coming up and they're thinking, I've got to get all of my tax stuff. That's from 2023.
That's last year.
That's last year's tax. Yep. So we're moving January 1, 2024 moving forward. So scholarships are funded through tax credits that are given to Nebraska taxpayers that wish to contribute to this scholarship fund. And Opportunity Scholarships of Nebraska is what it is called. So as individuals meet with their tax advisors and they have dollars in which they would like to contribute to this and receive a tax credit. Now that tax credit is up to 50% or $100,000. Now the cap on this is $10 million. So there's probably some organizations here in
Nebraska. Or is
it
25 million?
25 million. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the amount the state will allow to go into this fund in total.
The cap, yes, the cap is 25 million. So there's some organizations that could give a significant chunk of that and receive all of those tax benefits or those tax credits. So it's a tax credit up to 50% or $100,000, so that we don't have one major entity that's coming in and taking all of the tax credits. So they're trying to balance it out that way. So that's how they are funded. I really encourage you to go into the Opportunity Scholarships of Nebraska.org. And you'll have a slide here popping up. There it is, where people who are interested to receive a tax credit can go there, and it lays everything out simply for those that want to donate to this.
Yeah, and I've been on that website, and it really does describe everything really well. It gives you clear instructions about how to donate and also how to apply and all that stuff. So lots of stuff on there. I will say, and maybe I'll kind of detail this a little more of who can receive a scholarship, what a qualified school is, all this kind of stuff, if I could, for just a moment, Mark. Eligible students are Nebraska residents, particularly entering kindergarten or ninth grade in a qualified school, or if they're transferring from a public school and have been enrolled for at least one semester prior to that, and they're going into then a qualified school. So the point of this is that if my child is already registered, let's say at Christ Lincoln Schools, they're in third grade there, they would not be eligible because they're already registered in a private school. It has to be kids going into kindergarten, going into ninth grade, or coming out of a public school and going into a qualified school. Or it could be a sibling of someone receiving an opportunity scholarship that resides in the same household. Qualified schools are non-public, privately operated elementary or secondary schools in Nebraska. and they have to fulfill certain accreditation requirements and that sort of thing, which is important that these are not just rogue schools running around. I mean, they're accredited like Christ Lincoln Schools is,
Yep.
like Lincoln Lutheran is. So they're accredited schools. So who are the scholarships targeted at? They're targeted at kids who, let's see, have received the first tier. They go in different tiers, how they're assigned, and the first tier doesn't apply this year. So let's kind of maybe go by that one. But because the first tier is students who've received the scholarship last year. Well, nobody received it last year. So that doesn't apply this year. It'll apply in future years. But
Right.
The second tier is eligible students in families whose income is 100% or below the federal poverty level. So that's the target, is kids who are in need.
So think of those families who qualify for free and reduced lunch. Those
Okay.
families under this would qualify.
Sure. And that's even in tier 3, correct? Because tier 3 is if you're above 100% of the federal poverty level, but below 185%, which then you would still get reduced lunch. Correct? Yeah. So anyway, so we have those. If you watch on YouTube, we have this whole list on the screen, and you can find this again. We talked about it. This website, nebraskaopportunity.org, is it's just a one-stop shop. It gives you all this information, so it's very helpful. So all right, so let's ask this question: when you donate, then can you donate for a specific school? Like, could I donate for Christ Lincoln Schools, or is it into just an opportunity scholarship bucket?
You can donate to a specific school, but not to a specific family. Now, to a specific school, there will be caps or limits to that, because we don't necessarily want all of the Lutheran families donating just to Lutheran schools, or all of the Catholic families donating this just to go to Catholic schools. So there is going to be a limit of that. So again, there's that balance across. But you can't designate to a specific family. They want to keep this as general and broad, and making sure that the majority of the population of those that qualify under each of those tiers are going to receive something.
Good. Yeah. So if my tax bill for Nebraska is $1,000 in a year, if I fill out these forms, which I can find at the nebraskaopportunity.org website, fill out these forms, get approved. If my tax bill will be $1,000, I could donate up to $500 to these scholarships, and then I would receive a $500 credit, dollar for dollar, off my taxes in 2024. That's how that would work, right?
That is correct. Yeah, and awesome. Once the tax credits are gone, they are gone. So whether they're gone within the first quarter, the first 6 months of the year, then they're gone. So really encouraging people who are considering this to think ahead. Think in advance, again, not off 2023 tax year, but the 2024 tax year, to think ahead on that, because once they're gone, they're gone. Hopefully, we will show the legislation that, hey, there is a need to bump this up from 25 million, maybe doubling it the next year, and just to continue to expand school choice.
And part of that will be showing, and we'll talk about this again as we get closer to November, but showing that this doesn't hurt public school at all. So that's not the point. So
the way the bill was written,
that's what's going to be said, though, right? Is, oh, this harms public schools.
Yeah, the way the bill was written is Governor Pillen wants to do this for non-public schools, but then also increase public school funding as well.
Wow. Okay, so that actually increases public school funding.
It does. Yeah, it does.
So what's the problem? Well, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Okay. So, do you think there'll be kids being able to come then to Christ Lincoln Schools, kindergartners or ninth graders going to Lincoln Lutheran?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I know I'm being parochial here, but that's the two schools closest to my heart. Do you think we'll have some kids who are able to come who couldn't come otherwise?
Yeah, even now we are starting to receive inquiries through Opportunity Scholarships Nebraska. We're receiving inquiries from families that are interested in our school, and talking with our elementary principal. They have a couple of tours that are taking place today and tomorrow of families who would qualify for this. So yes, I certainly believe that our students, whether Christ, whether Lincoln Lutheran, pick any Catholic school, non-public school, there is a huge need for this.
That's really great. Well, I'm going to, when we're done, I'm going to get over to nebraskaopportunity.org and fill out my paperwork and see if I can help some kids and help some families. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, any closing words, or we kind of covered it for now? Any other thoughts we missed, do you think, or not?
I think we're there for now. Again, go to that website. It has a ton of information for people, whether they want to contribute to it or whether there's just questions that they have. There's great FAQs listed there as well. Educate yourself, right? Don't always just take the opponent's information and saying, well, that must be truth, that must be law. Here's a great website that kind of I think shows truth and debunks a lot of what is out there that is disputing the school choice movement.
Good. All right, and we've had that website up on the screen a number of times, nebraskaopportunity.org. So don't miss that. Get over there, as I will, and if you want to, fill out your paperwork if God so moves you, and support those kids and families who are interested in that kind of school choice. Well, Mark, thanks for being with me today. We're gonna get back at this again, I'm sure, as the year progresses, but thanks for being with us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Pastor.
All right. Well, write us. That's what we got for you today. Write us at eaglesonthehill211@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts about this. If you have further questions, certainly get them to us, and I'll forward them to Mark so we can either he or I can get back to you about that. Remember, as we close, that those who hope in the Lord will fly on wings like eagles. And we want to trust in God's promise today that he is always faithful to those promises in his word. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.